precisely this. I think I tried to summarize it in brief, that I believe very much in empowering those I've been entrusted with the leadership of. I think I'm not bad at delegation. At the same time, I know that they need guidance and they often need correction. But once in a while, when they go wrong, if you don't back them up, they never have the confidence to do the right thing next time. So back them up when they go wrong, encourage them and give them credit when they do right. And ultimately, delegate authority, because very often, people at lower levels and you knew more about what they're supposed to do than you do. Why should you know their job? You're their boss, right? Let them do their job well and encourage them to do it and show them appreciation when they do. That's, I think, the style that I would prefer. I mean, it's not as unobtrusive as the Rahul Dravid style, but it's neither the Virat Kohli style of trying to do everything myself and showing that I can do everything myself, nor is it the Narendra Modi chest thumping, I am the man who knows all the answers. My staff may believe I know all the answers, they may come to me seeking the answers, that's fine. But I don't have to go around saying so, and I don't, I never do. And I think that's worked. I mean, as I said, I actually headed the largest department of the United Nations, the Department of Public Information, which had over 800 staff in 88 countries around the world at a time when we were under tremendous pressure to reform and cut staff and budgets. So I actually had to close a number of offices. It was a deeply difficult decision. Many people who had worked for years found themselves out of work. And I had to motivate the staff to do better than they had before. And at the same time to ensure that change would come that would make the paymasters of the organization, particularly the US in those days, accept the outcome. And I'm proud to say it worked, and I was recognized for having that. So many ambassadors came to me begging me to contest for Secretary General, precisely because they'd seen that form of management and leadership. So in my case, at that time, with the people I was with, it worked. Whether it'll work tomorrow running a ministry or running a political party is a totally different thing. Each solution, each style of leadership is effective in the context of the company, the organization, the institution, the quality of the team you have that you often inherit. When you become a leader, you don't actually have, you may not have built up the team with you. And of course, the context, whether in your case it may be the market, in my case it may be the political environment. All those things have a tremendous impact as well. But within that, yeah, you can do a lot.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Okay.
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I think I've heard a better speech from you. That was when you went for the stand-up comedian show. Well, see, I've been in the corporate, and today I'm more of a life coach. A life coach who tries to help people by discovering the diamond within them and then help them cut and polish so that it shines to its true brilliance. What I'm coming to is that today there is inherent leadership in everyone, especially when you work with school children, which I normally do now. But what needs to be done to bring this leadership out? Because you talk about Mahatma Gandhi as a big leader, you talk about, everyone as a big leader. At the same time, I also talk about the person who laid down his life to save the two people who were stuck down in Calicut in that hole, manhole. He's also a true leader. So what should be done to ensure that, the leadership in everyone is brought out? Because it's all about, bringing out the leadership in each and every person. And how do we do that?
So, it's a tough one to answer because obviously my own bias is to say the best way to bring out leadership in people is to challenge them to do something that shows their qualities. If you do everything for them or tell them everything to do, you might do it once, but the second time if you have to do that, they don't have the leadership in them to take it on themselves. So the best way to bring out leadership qualities in people is by encouraging them to do it. The question of the leader being the one who sacrifices himself for others, there are two schools of thought on that. There's a famous argument by General Patton, who said, I don't want you becoming a hero by dying for your country. I want you to become a hero by making the other fellow die for his country. So if you end up, giving your life up, it's a one-time sacrifice and that you are not able to lead again in future. Whereas if you are able to outdo your rivals, your competitors, whoever the opposition is, and still survive and move on, then of course you've gained in leadership stature from being the person who did what you did. So that's the other question that one has to bear in mind. I will say that at the end of the day, you find out people's leadership qualities or interest in being leaders only by essentially challenging them to do it. So if you're leading a bunch of kids on a camp or an excursion or some sort of exercise, if you start doing everything and they just have to follow or imitate, then you'll never find out which of them has leadership qualities. If in the course of doing it you've shown them once, and the second time you get somebody else to step up and do what you had already told the whole group to do, and see who does it most credibly and well, who seems to have learned and absorbed, who seems to have their own approaches, their own way of doing things, you'll find your leaders. Thank you all very much. Okay, one last question briefly.
Could you give a date to a world government?
Not in my lifetime or yours. Simply that, sovereignty is is one with far too much difficulty for countries to be willing to subsume it in a world government. India is an example, but on the other extreme, America is an example. In fact, they resent the idea of others telling them what to do, and part of the backlash against globalization to which I alluded is this backlash against the cosmopolitans. They want to be behind their own people. In fact, the British philosopher David Goodhart has published an interesting book drawing a distinction between the two kinds of people in the world. He calls them the somewheres and the anywheres. The anywheres are the people who are the cosmopolitans, who are comfortable in any business class lounge anywhere in the world, who will attend conferences in five-star hotels anywhere in the world, who will be equally at ease in any country in the world because they're functioning in a sort of rarefied elite atmosphere. And they can, in many ways, be seen as the products of globalization. Davos man, as Huntington said, products and epitome of that exercise. Whereas if those are the anywheres, the somewheres, according to Goodhart, are the ones who are locally rooted, who have a strong sense of place, their own religion, their own ethnicity, their own color of skin, their own language, their own religion, and see a distinction between all of that and the anywheres. And they want to keep the anywheres out of their lives, and they don't want the anywheres sending them people of different religions, different colors, different languages, different spaces, and so on, which is why you've seen the backlash against foreigners who happen to be East European foreigners, not even brown or black ones, in Brexit. You see the backlash in Trump's saying, make America great again, means make America back before it was cosmopolitan, before it was mixed race, before it was multilingual, etc. The old days of white America, make America white again is a subtext. So this anywheres versus somewheres battle, in recent years, the anywheres are losing to the somewheres. The somewheres are the ones who are prevailing. So you're seeing a situation where, if anything, you can put a date on that attempt to globalize. Globalization, the era of globalization was 1980 to 2008. Now we are in a much reduced sort of paperback edition of globalization, where a lot of the, Tom Friedman's thesis of the world is flat. The world is no longer flat. The world has now got walls coming up literally everywhere. Not just to shield Mr. Trump's eyes, also to keep the Mexican gardeners out of Trump's garden. So that kind of change is something that is happening before us. So world government is a totally fantasy concept. And I don't expect to see it in the foreseeable future. It would have to take either some totally global cataclysm, where the world is destroyed in some horrendous nuclear war, and out of the ashes one nation can be built. Or we literally have some invasion from outer space, and we have to unite to defend our planet. I mean, some sort of really science fiction kind of story. Short of that, there will be no world government. What there can be is collaboration across the world, and that's what the United Nations was created to do, and has not been unsuccessful the first decades, but now certainly is looking tired and less relevant. But creating a framework where sovereign nations can collaborate with each other, that is always feasible, not a world government. Thank you all very much.